One of the first things we want to do is make sure we have a good battery. Battery lives in here, and normally they'll last for years. We have one in the shop we've used for the last 4 years. Never had to change it. Use it every day. I'll tell you which battery you need later on if you have to use it. When you test your remote, you should be able to push the button and it lights up. This is going to move, but it's hard to see, but there'll be a little light here. And every time you push the button, that light will light up. So that's number one. You need to make sure that we have power. If it lights up, we have power, good deal. So we know the remote works. If your map doesn't move after we tested our remote, we need to make sure that we have power going to the map. The baby map is easy to work with, and you have your connector and your transformer. Let me show it to you. So your map's powered by your wall outlet, and we have the transformer. It might look like this, it might look like a little bit different. So you plug that into your wall, and then the actual motor from the map is plugged into the transformer. The transformer transforms the power, steps it down a little bit, so it's not so strong to run this little motor, just like your laptop. So if you're not getting any power, number one, make sure you're plugged in. That works. Number two, you'll be plugged in, and when you unplug this, you'll hear a little beep. Plug it in, unplug it, and you should hear a little chirp in your motor. Just a very faint chirp. If your motor chirps, then you know you have power going from the wall to the motor. So you've done everything, you've checked the power, your remote's working, you know your motor has power coming from the wall, and still nothing's working. So you're going to reprogram the entire motor to talk to the remote. We'll start from the very beginning. So you'll have a red button. It might be in the back here depending how you put your roller in. And what we'll do is we'll just take something not sharp, blunt, and just hold down that red button for about 5 seconds. You hear that chirp. We're going to hit the C to confirm. That little chirp, ready to program it. The remote has talked to the motor. So we'll just set the limits. And it's just like we do normally. We're going to push the L, hold it down 3 to 5 seconds. You'll get a chirp. It's ready to go. We'll move it, tell it, adjust it, tell it where we want it to go. When we're happy with that, push the C. Good to go. We'll do the other direction, going up. So that's where we want it to stop, right there. And we'll confirm it. We'll push the C. It's been reprogrammed, and it should work. It's going to stop right here. And the top limit, which we just reprogrammed. So now, if for any reason we need to take the map out, we have to make sure it's unplugged from the wall outlet, which I'll do right here. My outlet's over on that side, sorry. So we'll unplug it. We heard the little chirp over there. Now we need to get the map out of the rollers. The easiest way that we found here in the shop to do it is we use a nice flat edge. This is just a scraper, standard paint scraper. And we'll put it in. Make sure you support the map so it doesn't fall down on you. And you just have to kind of work that spring a little bit. Once you get that spring out, slide it out, it comes right out. So pretty easy to take out. If you put up your own brackets and you condense this really tight and the spring is pushed all the way in, then it's very difficult to get your map out or your cover out because there's no play. Ideally, you should have it pressed in about halfway when it's sitting in these brackets. Keep in mind, this is our demo map. It's a little bit ugly. We hadn't finished it. but I want to show you how to take the motor out of it so you can see it. My little mark, by the way. So the motor lives here inside. I'll have to get a we'll probably take off the tape, number one. It has a rubber gasket right here. It fits in there. If the tape is not over that gasket, you can actually just leave the tape alone. And I'll get a screwdriver and we'll just pop this out. So to take the motor out, we just got to have a flat edge that's going to get up underneath here. This is just a rubber gasket. So you just slowly try not to tear the rubber bushing, and you just kind of slowly wiggle it around. Sometimes you're just going to help it come out here. It has a rubber boot that holds it into place, so as you pull it, this top rubber gasket is the part that's holding it together, or not holding it together, but holding it firm inside the tube. And if you just pull straight back, it comes out pretty easily. This is what the motors are. And there's a circuit board inside of here, and of course it's just a motor with a rod that turns this little fellow here. So we're going to roll that. So let me plug it up for you. So if your map did not move and you're confident in taking it out and doing all this, what we're going to do is we're just going to test it. So it's plugged in. It should just roll because it has limits set. You see how it rolls? The end will move, and it's only going to move the predefined limits that we set it. Pretty cool. That's how it works. Keep in mind you're going to have to reprogram your map once you put this all back together, because we've changed where the rolled up map is going to sit on this roller. So just keep that in mind. End of your motor has this rubber foot, and these little cleats here, these little feet, well, they go up inside. I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a ridge inside this tube. It's totally smooth except for that ridge, and as the motor turns, it's going to grab those little ridges there, and that forces it to move. So that's how it moves. There's two sizes here. There's on the motor. There's a wider side. You probably can't see it in the video. The one a little bit wider, maybe an inch or a quarter inch, and then one that's an inch. So when you put all this back together, or you get a replacement motor, you want to put the smaller one into the tube, grabbing that ridge. If you did it wrong and put the larger one, it's just going to have a little kick, a little bit of movement every time you turn it. The map or the cover will jerk a little bit. So just straightforward there. So you've taken your motor out, you know it works, you push the buttons, it does motor things, it moves, it rotates. Or you've gotten a new motor and you might want to test it before you put it in there. We'll test it before we send it to you. So we're going to put it back inside. This little wire, just FYI, it has a little plastic cover on it, which if I pull it off, it's just an exposed wire. That's how the remote senses or sends out the signal, and this picks it up. Sometimes we've had customers where this has gotten caught up inside the rolled map or the rolled cover, and sometimes the actual power cord has gotten sucked up inside the rolled map, and as it starts to rotate, it tightens and is actually can damage itself, and this will quit moving. So just be aware of when you hang this up and you have it on your wall that all the wires are out of the way. Okay? So we've tested the motor, we know it works, we got to put it back in our tube. Like I mentioned, we're going to use the smaller side, and you could lubricate this if you if you had some lubricant, there's special types of rubber lubricant you can buy, but we don't use it. It just goes in, and just a little bit of force to get it in there, not much, just that rubber will go. And same for your top piece, that's narrow and wide. They make different size rollers with different widths, little brackets inside. That's why they're different. And so just kind of match it up. I'm going to pull this a little bit off camera so I can get it to go in like I need to. If this is a large map, you're not going to be able to stand it up, so you will have to, I'll just do it all on the table, you will have to have a friend or someone to help you kind of push it back in there and get it seated. Since this motor has been used, not really old, but it has been used, that rubber is a little softer and it will just snap right back into place. And just so you can see here, the rubber seal is just seating flush up against the tube. And the tape, of course this is not the tape that's going to be in yours, but the tape is, a lot of it's for aesthetics to hide the end of the canvas and what have you. So once it's in there, you could push the button, it's going to move. See? So you see it moving around. So we know the motor's good, we know everything's working. I'm going to put it back in the brackets. You do the motor in first, and again, if this was a long map, you know, 60 or 80 inches, a long TV cover, because we do a lot of those, you'll have to have a helper. So once the motor in is in, I'll just push or retract the spring a little bit and let it snap into place. Your motor's good. So now we're going to have to reprogram it. I'm going to move my wire for this guy because it's going to get caught up otherwise. So we'll reprogram it because our limits are all messed up. The remote. Set our limit. Confirm. Let's set the top limit. Just like before. We set it. Stop. Do our micro adjustments. We're happy. Confirm. Maps reprogram. Motor's in there. Everything's good to go. Alright, hope this helps.